Hi everyone. It's time for another Q&A. This one for January 2021. And as always, before I get into this, I'm not a medical doctor and I can't give medical advice. So that in mind, let's get into the questions. First question is, how many other people have tried how are other people trying dry fasting doing? How oddly put. Well, other people that are trying dry fasting are doing great. Once they get over the initial trepidation of the things you've been taught, you can't live past 3 days without drinking water. Once they see how easy this is, they go from 1 and 2 day dry fast and just jump into the 7 day. And universally, they've had a great time doing it. They also find out how easy this is and look forward to the next time. Next question. Aches and pains. Yeah, this is kind of based on the person doing the dry fast. Some people have really hurt themselves in car accidents and skating accidents and childbirth and all this stuff. So you end up with some aches and pains that happen during the dry fast because you hurt when you heal. Healing is a process where the nervous stimulation is very confusing to the brain. You end up with aches and pains when you're actually fixing things. Scar tissue is being dissolved and replaced with new tissue. It just comes with the territory. My partner, for instance, has done 4 dry fasts, and each one is at a different area that's hurt her. What she did was she just got a hot water bottle and put it on there and kept it on there all the time. Pretty easy. When do you take the supplements to make the Phoenix protocol more effective for life extension? Well, the first thing you do is to take the Physitin before you dry fast. That's to remove senescent cells, which are a burden on the immune system to try to deal with if you haven't done it and you go into a dry fast. So you get as many of those as you can right off the bat. Then you do your dry fast. Then you do a recovery period. And at the end of the recovery period, you start the stem cell regen to make sure your bone marrow is pumping out tons and tons of fresh immune cells. Take the polyphenol plus to make sure your mitochondria and all your new tissue has plenty of energy and are protected against reaction oxygen species inside their the mitochondrial matrix. And the resveratrol 1000, which is used to activate your NAD plus to make sure your sirtuins are working to perform their demethylation tasks and all the other things, and ATP production and PARP activation, that sort of stuff. After the fast is over, I also take Physitin and I take Physitin with the resveratrol 1000 with yogurt or a healthy fat or olive oil. Because taking it with water neutralizes these particular chemicals, so you have to use a healthy oil, and that's what I do. And I keep it up for 2 to 3 months, maybe 4 months, because there's a 3-month regeneration period that's been activated when the stem cells are released. You want to keep that going as well as you can, and to help those cells produce all these paracrine signals that help adjacent cells act like young cells again. This is part of the overall infusion of youthful cells that helps other cells act youthfully. After that, it's 2 or 3 months before my next dry fast, and then I go through the whole regime again. However, generally I take the Physitin and the resveratrol 1000 every night before I go to sleep, because sleep is when your body heals itself. And having the ingredients to make sure that the sirtuins are activated to methylate cells and the senescent cells are being killed, because they're made every day anyway. You don't just get rid of them once and they're gone forever. You got to take care of them all the time. And Physitin is one of these miraculous plant-based materials that do this. Okay, next question. After the protocol, or rather, are the protocols the same as a 7-day dry fast when exiting a short dry fast? No, you don't have to worry about exiting the short dry fast. You just don't eat for 2 or 3 days and you go back to eating. You get the benefit of giving your digestive system a little break. You get the benefit of turning on a little bit of autophagy for about 2 or 3 days, which is helpful for all cells, in particular your stem cells, because they're cells too. So if any insults have occurred on those cells, they get repaired, because you don't want your stem cell reservoir having damage. So yeah, but you don't want to go past 72 hours, because then you have eliminated all the glucose that stimulates insulin, and with the insulin gone, protein kinase A turns on, which turns on your stem cells. So yeah, after 72 hours, you need to stop. That's why we really only suggest 2 7-day dry fasts a year for stem cell activation and total body rejuvenation. Next question. How How does scheduling a dry fast affect donating blood? I wouldn't donate blood. But if you do, I'd wait at least 2 or 3 months after donating blood to do a dry fast. You want to have your erythrocytes, your red blood cells, totally up to speed and ready to deliver all the stuff, oxygen in particular, to the bloodstream when you dry fast. Let's see. Can dry fasting restore mild hearing loss? Well, I don't know for sure, but I know for sure it restored my sense of smell. Dry fasting is particularly designed to repair damaged tissue, restore tissue, activate stem cells to replace and restore and regenerate and resculpt tissues. So I wouldn't be a bit surprised. Let's see. How often do you recommend 2 to 3 day dry fast? And are the protocol requirements to stay with the 7-day? No exercise or teeth brushing. Like I said, if you can do as much, if you're not going to do a 7-day dry fast because you can't schedule it, 2 to 3 day dry fasts are a good idea. Sure, you don't want to do the tooth brushing, so it's probably good to do it on a weekend. And you don't want to do heavy exercise because you're in an autophagic state, and you don't want to activate all these systems that have to repair muscles if you're going to stress them. So just lay back, relax, heal yourself. Let's see. Is it a good idea to do short dry fasts throughout the year on top of the 1 or 2 year daily or 2 year 7-day dry fast? No, it's unnecessary. Like I said before, if you can't schedule 7 days, you can get quite a bit of a cumulative effect of autophagy with the shorter dry fast, and that's fine. You're not going to turn on the stem cells unless you go past day 3, and you don't want to do that all the time with these short dry fasts. So my advice is don't do both. Just do the 7-day dry fast and twice a year, and you don't have to do any short dry fast. That's my feeling on this. Let's see, what else? During a dry fast, you have to avoid brushing teeth, even though Dr. Shishnikov says avoid it. That's a doctor giving you advice. So yeah, don't brush your teeth. I mean, a lot of things happen in the mouth during a dry fast. One of which is a lot of macrophages are in the mouth healing stuff, fixing things, killing bacteria. The stuff is supposed to do. So you don't want to brush them out of there. If you want to wipe your mouth out because it just gets too sticky, because the stickiness is the white blood cells, I suppose maybe a damp washcloth, but you can't put water in your mouth and flush all that stuff out. You can if it gets too uncomfortable, but you're really reducing the amount of healing that's happening in the gums with the white blood cells. Okay, let's see. And is stevia okay on day 8 or 9 during recovery? Well, yeah, sure. Stevia is fine because it's a plant-based sugar substitute, but no chemical sugar substitutes. None of that stuff. Those are toxic poisons, and drop them out of your diet anyway. Stevia is okay though. I like honey. Honey's good. It's got minerals and good stuff in it. But yeah, stay away from the really concentrated sugars. But honey or stevia, that's probably fine. Let's see. What are your thoughts on intermittent dry fasting, or OMAD? Well, if you mean doing a dry fast and only eating once a day, probably not a good idea. But intermittent fasting, yeah, it's a good idea. A lot of people have adopted that with a very beneficial result. I think it was, I forget the author, but a book on that, the 8-hour dry for intermittent fast or something or other. But yeah, intermittent fasting is fine. But intermittent dry fasting, I wouldn't do it. Next. Let's see. Can the bath water have any additives? No, because your skin is porous and whatever's in the bath water will go into your skin. Maybe magnesium, maybe an Epsom salt bath, magnesium sulfate, because you need magnesium as a critical electrolyte, and you need sulfur to activate your D3. So yeah, but no floral things or scents or that kind of stuff. I wouldn't do that at all. Let's see. Can you discuss any mental, emotional, or even spiritual effects of fasting, especially emotional trauma? This is an interesting question because almost universally people that have done their first dry fast feel lighter, feel more enlightened, feel more awake, more self-aware. And this gets back to my theory that a lot of these problems in life occur from toxic chemicals that are inside your body that are frequency-based vibrations that are negative energies that negate the positive energies of most of your molecular structure. So you're getting rid of these negative frequency molecules from dry fasting. You're also getting rid of parasites. And it's for sure that parasites are very, very bad for your biophysical, makeup. They emit toxic chemicals from their biology to make you think you need things you don't need, like sugar and cakes and pastries and that stuff. Because a lot of people, after they've dry fasted, have no more desire for these kind of foods. Well, was it really your desire? That's the question you have to ask. And if you go on TED Talks and look at, the parasites and how they co-opt other beings and spiders and cockroaches and stuff, they're going to co-opt your thinking as well. So yeah, I think you're going to find that the spiritual feeling after dry fasting and the reduction of emotional issues after dry fasting is due to the fact you may finally be experiencing your first moments of clarity in your whole life, compared to when you were a kid, when you had lots of clarity and very low parasites and very low toxins. There's a correlation there to take into consideration. Okay, next. What can you do about intestinal dysbiosis, which is irritable bowel and flatulence and those sort of things? Dry fasting does a couple of things really fast. It balances your gut bacteria. It produces a new immune system and repairs the gut wall, the intestinal wall, with brand new stem cells, which reside in that niche. So initially, the immune cells get released on day 3, and they go through the vascular system and prepare the arterial wall and some of the organs. But in the niches themselves, the niche stem cells, the ones in the gut, will be activated to repair that gut wall and seal up the junctions between the cells so you don't get leaky gut. The other thing you should do is take a probiotic daily. There's a bunch of good ones on the market. I don't really want to promote anybody specifically, but get a good probiotic, take one daily, because every day when you evacuate, some of your microbiota leaves the body, so you have to bring it back in. Today, we're not eating the kind of food with dirt on it still like we did in our many earlier years back in the 1900s and early 1900s and 1800s, but instead, you want to go ahead and add those things back. So yeah, take a probiotic after you fast every day. It's just good sense. Okay, why am I not thirsty or hungry during a dry fast? Well, that gets back to how it's explained in the book, is that when you don't drink water, you activate chemicals in the hypothalamus and pituitary that tell the kidney, the adrenal medulla on top of the kidney, to release epinephrine, which opens up the fat cells. The fat cells of where you've been storing food and where you have free fatty acids and glycerol. So the glycerol goes into the liver to make glucose, plasma glucose, so you have plenty of it, fuel. The free fatty acids go into the bloodstream and into the liver to make ketones, but into the mitochondria to make ATP. And in that process, you make tons of water in that process. So every cell in the body is making its own water. Hence, no thirst, no hunger. That's how it works. It doesn't work the same with water fasting, or water dieting, as I like to call it. How do you keep your energy up during a dry fast? Well, you don't. You go with it. If you're tired, go take a nap. If you don't want to sleep, stay up, watch a movie. You don't run around and do stuff on a dry fast. You're healing. Just like if you're in a clinic, you stay in bed to heal from an injury. You're doing a self-imposed clinical therapy. That's what dry fasting is. It's not a joke. It's a very serious medical condition you put yourself into, relatively safe medical condition and medical therapy. So just go with it. Me, I get tired and I just go to sleep. I sleep in front of a big fan. The white noise puts me right out. It's wonderful. My partner, she can't sleep at all. She's up day and night. It is just your personal experience and what you're healing. But no, don't worry about keeping your energy up. Go with the flow and just take a nap if you have to. Okay. Can I smoke weed during a dry fast? I've been getting a lot of that question. My personal feeling is, people have said, oh, what if I vape? So I take it into my lungs, into my bloodstream, and that way I avoid the GI tract. And I say, yeah, okay. Well, my personal feeling is to defer back to the Russians. Stop taking anything into your body that isn't just water through the skin. Two things happen. First of all, if you smoke weed, the debris from smoking weed is brought up by the cilia, goes right down to the gut, and you're taking stuff down the GI tract. The other benefit of not doing weed while you dry fast is that weed has a reverse tolerance aspect to it. The more you smoke, the more you need to smoke to get just as high. So if you stop for 2 or 3 days, or 5 or 6 or 7 days, you've eliminated that tolerance threshold. And when you go back to smoking weed again, it takes a lot less to get just as high. So there's a couple of good benefits there. You clean out the debris from smoking weed, and you end up back to smoking weed and it doesn't take as much. So it's more economical. Okay, next question. Can you suggest a schedule or lifestyle that integrates dry fasting? And do you think that taking coffee or tea is a diuretic to start ketosis? No, don't take anything to start ketosis. Let your body go into ketosis naturally. You want to do the fisetin, get rid of the senescent cells, and go into a dry fast. It's pretty simple. Lifestyle? What lifestyle? Twice a year, 7-day dry fast. If you can't do the 7 days and don't want to do that, you're going to miss the regeneration effects of stem cell activation, but you will be able to keep a little healthier and cleaner because you're activating autophagy longer than your nightly sleep. And that gets to an important point. Every night you sleep, you're actually doing a dry fast. You're doing a self-imposed anhydrous starvation therapy, whether you know it or not. You're not drinking or eating while you're sleeping, I hope. The other thing is, this is the period where your body tries to get rid of the toxins that build up and the metabolites that build up from staying alive. A lot of the reasons we age as short as we do is because these toxins build up. The nightly sleep is not long enough to take the daily insults away. So those insults end up building up, kind of like putting 2 marbles in a bucket. And during the night, you take 1 marble out. The next day, you put 2 marbles in. The next night, you take 1 marble out. You can see how just the marbles start building up until you can't carry the bucket anymore. It's really about that simple. Dry fasting is an extended period of sleep-like autophagy effects. Instead of hours, you're doing it for days. It gives your body time to really activate all the processes to get rid of all these metabolites and all this toxic debris. And you end up stimulating stem cells to fix the real damage that's happened during the insults to stay alive. And this is where the functional immortality thing comes in. Dry fasting twice a year, eating whatever the hell you want during the year. I mean, you can be a lot healthier if you eat better during the year, but really twice a year, if you're doing the dry fast, you're taking away all those metabolites and all that damage and fixing damage, and you'll end up living longer. That's what I'm working on, is how to figure out these 2 metabolic systems, eating and not eating. How long to do one, how long to do the other, what the system is, and so far I'm experimenting with the 2 7-day dry fasts a year protocol. So the Phoenix Protocol and Neogenesis, which is the next book, is how to organize this, why it works, how to do it. And I think that as far as the scheduling dry fasting to your lifestyle question goes, pretty simple. Dry fast twice a year for 7 days. Eat whatever the hell you want the rest of the year. Because life is a very interesting thing. It's fun. Humans have invented and designed all kinds of diversions and foods and things and entertainment. You shouldn't have to deny yourself. A life of denial is not life at all. But if you could have more life just by giving up a couple of weeks every year, I mean a lot more life, because the human lifespan is a lot longer than most people think, a lot longer, that if you just incorporate the dry fasting method into your general yearly lifestyle, you really are way ahead of the game. Because, again, dry fasting is like sleep, except you're extending the autophagy from from hours into days. That's where this thing really has its effect. So anyway, there's the Q&A for this month. I'll be back next month. And in the next day or so, I'll be talking about stem cells. I'll be talking about all kinds of interesting things with dry fasting again, because I'll be answering some of these questions in some of my videos. But as the questions build up, we'll get another one of these in a month. It'll be fun. Trust me. See ya.